The following show and its content are the responsibility of the show's producers and participants.
Information related in this program is not meant to substitute medical recommendations. Before starting a treatment program, you should consult your physician.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
That's right. Welcome to the Couch Live here on the Problem Solving Network, WPSN99.com, out of New Smyrna Beach. I'm the street certified dope Dr. Louis Delgado here with you, along with my partner, that is Trinity Phillips, the Dharma Guy. Hello, Mr. Trinity Phillips.
Hey, what's going on?
How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic today.
Yeah?
Yes, I am.
Why? Because it's a nice warm day, or what
No,
is it?
oh gosh, no.
Is that
I
not
can't
right?
stand the heat, man.
That's not your reasoning?
No, actually, I feel pretty good, man. I'm finally getting my groove back in the gym a little bit.
Oh.
I was able to throw up in the 300s again today, and
you threw up?
feel good. No, I did not throw up.
Oh, I
Thankfully.
thought that's what you said.
Throw up on the bench, man.
Oh, that's a weightlifting
It is
term.
It is.
Just like this Michael Smith thing or whatever you said.
Who?
I don't know. You said something the other day on Facebook. Something about Smith machine.
Oh, the
or
Smith
something.
machine. Yes.
I don't know what that is.
Oh God, good. That's a good thing. It's for never mind.
It's
I'll start upsetting people if I start talking.
Oh, will
about
you?
it. Yes.
So it's a good thing that I don't know what a machine is at the.
Correct. It's a machine that nobody should ever use, man. Basically, but for whatever reason they do.
All right. Well, now I need to know what the machine is, because if I ever go into a gym, I don't want to use a machine.
Well, it's
So
basically.
can you just tell me real quick, like without upsetting everybody?
Sure. It's Smith machine is basically it's kind of like there's a barbell attached to tracks on either side that essentially stabilize it and keep it on a certain track for you.
Okay.
And so when you lift it, you unroll it and lift it and roll it back. The problem with it is it's not real weight because it's on a track. And in real life, when you're walking around trying to do things, there is no track helping you lift things. So essentially what that means is your secondary and supporting muscles don't get stronger at the same pace that your bigger muscles do. So it's like a fake strength.
Like cheating.
Yeah. You can put a ton of weight on there. Let's say somebody does, let's say 315, right? On that, they think, I can do 300. No, you can't. Because when you go to the actual barbell and do it, you'll be lucky to do 215 because it's that much of a discrepancy.
But you're still building muscle, just not symmetrically or something or whatever that you're saying.
You're leaving yourself open to potential injury because your major movers are capable of lifting the weight. But the supporting muscles that help you get that weight up aren't improving at the same rate.
I like the way you're saying that. That makes a lot of sense, the way you said it, actually. The supporting muscles.
Yeah. So
because you're cheating a little bit.
Absolutely.
But you're still pushing weight, so the major muscles are growing, is what you're saying. All right, cool.
But my thing is just the post that I did was there was a guy who was he was like strapping his knees up and all this like professional equipment
just
almost.
to do that.
And he was ripping it out, and I think he had 315 on there.
Right.
And then when he got done, he like racked it. And he's like looking around, like, yeah.
Oh,
man.
and I'm like what I just did.
Yeah, I'm like, bro, like, no,
Really?
I'm sorry. So I, of course, being the.
Are you being judgy?
No, but I did work out right next to him and put a real 315 on the bench just to look at him. Like, yeah, this is what it really looks like, bro. I can't take you seriously when you're doing it on the Smith machine, walking around peacocking. So
Trinity is a bully at the gym.
I am not a bully.
Trinity is a bully at the gym.
I am not.
Is what we're learning. And we've talked about it
Frank
here on the Couch
Severino
Live
is talking about the Smith
before.
machine as well. So
he knows about the Smith machine?
Well, he mentioned the word, so I'm hoping he knows what it means, I guess.
Okay. Well, Frank, is Frank a cheater?
I don't know, but
I
just want to make sure I say I don't have a problem with people doing it.
He's a great golfer, by the way.
I would never put any of my clients on it,
Right.
and I personally won't use it.
Right.
And I don't have a problem if somebody who is not in that world
Right.
goes and jumps on it.
Right.
Just don't peacock afterwards like you're the man.
All right. Now, what does it look like? It's on a track, you said. I just want to make sure, because I've only seen the ones that you lift up that have like a wire attached to it that the wire pulls up the weight.
Pulley,
that's not the one. The pulley system is not what you're talking about.
Is a barbell that's kind of like floating in the air, if you will, and then on either side of the track, up and down. And
I don't
then
think I've ever seen that.
That's a good thing, though.
All right.
But anyways,
there's a reason I've never seen it. You got to go into a gym to see it.
Exactly. But that's okay.
I think I'd rather at least do that than nothing. Let's say that.
Okay.
All right, anyway, we're talking about legal heroin today because there's a lot of people out there, Trinity, on legal heroin.
Yes.
And this stems from, all these discussions. It is 420, by the way, so if you're celebrating 420 today.
Welcome.
Yeah,
sure.
Welcome to 6th grade.
Yeah, right.
Because if you're a true pothead and you require a day or a time to smoke, then you're really not.
Well, I think also
a pothead.
I think 420 takes on a different meaning than it did for me when I was a kid because it's legal.
We didn't even know about that date at the time. that wasn't even a thing.
Well, my point being is it's legal, recreationally now in certain states, so people can actually promote it and talk about it.
Right.
So I guess happy 420 day. I guess.
Right.
Sure.
I guess it means.
I'm not celebrating it, but
no, but because of that. There is, people talk about legalize. So we want to change that conversation a little bit because there are legal drugs and there are things that are legal that can be dangerous. And so when we talk about, hey, man, marijuana has medicinal purposes. Well, all drugs have some form of medicinal purpose, it appears.
Isn't that how they all basically got started?
It appears to be so, Trinity.
Yeah.
Either that or some Indians walking around chewing on the leaves, and we go, well, I'm a little bit jealous of your stamina.
Were they on peyote
like
or something?
cocaine? No, when they were chewing on down in South America, all the Spaniards are running out of gas going up the mountain, and all these Indians are, while they're taking a break, are chewing on leaves, and their stamina picks right back up, and it's like, man, I'm a little jealous of your stamina there, son. So let me take some of those leaves back to Spain and figure this out.
There you go.
It could be something like that, Trinity.
Sure.
But some people are on legal heroin, and I think we need to talk about it because there's actual argument about this.
There is
Trinity.
a ton of debate over this, and I guarantee you.
But why?
Right now, well, because Let's see.
You start us off on the debates that you've heard without mentioning names, so you don't get in trouble with anybody.
Oh, I'm going to get in trouble anyway.
You always do.
But no, I will say that.
But because you haven't been using the Smith machine, you can handle the trouble that comes at you.
Exactly. I got break shoulders, man. So
there you go.
No, I would say that just from what my understanding is, first and foremost, I think the reason why people don't want to refer to it as legal heroin is on face value, they just don't think it's the same. But I think on a subconscious level, I think that it would require them to look at addicts a little bit differently.
Right.
And they don't want to do that. It makes them feel uncomfortable. They still like to keep that separation of us versus them type of thing. Right. And I think that the concept or the idea that you're not that different from them and you're on the same substance, the only difference is they might be misusing it.
Right.
I think it bothers some people. And who am I to say that you shouldn't be bothered by that? By all means. But I do believe that it should be discussed. I think it should be talked about. Right. And I know that I think that the lack of knowledge about the legal heroin debate, if you will, I think it causes a lot of problems. I think people aren't aware, maybe, of what they're doing and how that's affecting them.
Okay.
Hence our poll question, by the way, which we're going to talk about later, I'm sure.
Right. Well, first of all, with the legal heroin, what we're talking about is I know some of you want to, you think we're going to be talking about medication-assisted treatment, which is not what we're talking about, even though some forms of medication of treatment do qualify in this conversation to some degree. However, I'm not here to say you should or should not be on any of these medications. I think we need to predicate everything. That's saying we're just giving you an understanding because your brain reads things one way despite what your intentions are. Much like, if you're standing up in front of a judge and say, well, I didn't intend to kill the person.
What is that phrase?
I just tried to get home and the person just happened to jump in front of my car.
What was that phrase, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, I think? Isn't that the phrase?
Very Dharma time-ish of you.
I'm trying.
It's very good. But, so the thing is this, because you go to a physician. Let's say you go through surgery and you go to a physician.
Okay.
And, of course, while you're in surgery, they're going to put you on some sort of pain medication. Now, what is that pain medication? And what receptors is that pain medication using? It's using opioid receptors.
What a great setup. I like that. You did a good job on that one, man.
Well, thank you. Well, receptor sites that we all have naturally, we have them because we are going to suffer pain in life. And because our brain doesn't want to really experience that level of pain, it has natural, what we call endogenous opioids, which are naturally born to us opioids.
Okay.
And they go to those receptor sites and kind of calm down the pain so that we don't suffer. That's what they're for. However, when you go through surgery, somebody's cutting you open.
That's a lot of pain.
It's a lot of pain. So we weren't given that much endogenous opioids, or that great of a. There's not that much of a flood of endogenous opioids that's going to help us out in that situation. Okay. So,
what to do?
Our brilliant geniuses of the world, people that sat in the front of the classroom, not like me, sat in the back. They invented these opioids by using things that were naturally out there already, like the poppy plant was out there. Opium was out there, and they realized that when people were under opium, they could suffer severe pain and it not be an issue. So they created things to be very similar.
Okay.
And the reason they worked is because they do use those opiate receptor sites. So opium, which is an agonist, and when I say the word agonist, by the way, it's not to fly over your head or anything. I don't want to create an issue here with certain. Yeah.
It is 420, so somebody might be a little
that's right.
inebriated at the moment.
Are you? Don't put down potheads, man.
I'm not.
That's not very nice to them.
I'm just saying that
they require love too. You should include them.
And I do love them.
This is a 2018 inclusion.
Do, which is why I'm saying make sure you use words that are easier to understand at the moment.
Okay, that was very biased of you.
Is that right?
But anyway, so what we want to say is that an agonist is something that you take that actually creates a reaction of that receptor site. Okay, so that is an agonist. All forms of the poppy plant that we have. So opium, heroin are agonists because they go into that opiate receptor site and create that reaction from that opiate receptor site to flood your brain a little bit with dopamine. It's a dopamine reward system that gets stimulated, and therefore the pain is released, and there's some pleasure attached to it, so to kind of get you away from the pain. Okay? Now,
well, before you go on, let me say that because I know we mentioned this, and I found the table, I guess, or the chart,
right?
To the you and I were talking about. So I will say that to keep up, they both come from the poppy plant.
Both what?
So heroin comes from, it says made from morphine, which is an extraction from the opium poppy plants.
Right.
And then RX opioids, which would be
prescription
ones.
Right.
It says it's made from opium poppy plant derivatives.
That's right. So there you go. So it's coming from the same place. And they are all agonists. So the hydrocodone that you may be given by your doctor, the Vicodin, the oxycodone, any pain pills, anything that falls in that line of pain medication. And I'm not talking about Tylenol.
I was about to say.
No, I'm talking about the opiate pain medication, the Vicodin, the hydrocodone, the oxys, all that stuff. Those are all agonists that go to your opiate receptor sites and create that same reaction. The dopamine reward gets done and floods and makes you feel good and no more pain. And that's why they're all opioids.
For some people.
So the reason we call them legal heroin, or Trinity and I call them legal heroin, is just because we need to have this conversation moving in a way so that we wake up. You got to stay woke, right? See, can I use their tag, even though I'm not?
Go for it.
You got to wake up, people. Remember that guy?
Yeah, wake up.
Yeah, wake up, because if you go to the doctor and get prescribed a legal form of heroin, at least if you look at it that way, you may know I need to get off of this sooner than later, rather than looking at it like I went to the doctor and got on some pain medication because I'm suffering pain and I need to take it longer because I'm still in pain. But if you don't use the word heroin, you might stay on it a little bit too long, not making that connection. But if you look at it like legal heroin, just maybe psychologically, you'll want to get off of it sooner than later, or you'll be more willing to take some other form of pain medication. Then that's when you get to the over-the-counter stuff, the ibuprofens. Right.
Well, you could also be more willing to lock it up, too, and keep it away from people.
Correct. Very good point, Trinity.
I agree.
And that's why we wanted to talk about it today, because so many people have legal heroin in their house, and they don't realize that there's street value attached to it. And so many people are not understanding how come all of a sudden we have all these heroin problems today. They just think that everybody just got stupid all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think that's still. I still think that that's the prevalent thought process at the moment.
Whether we all got stupid out in the community?
No, is that people think they still think of heroin and they picture that junkie on the street corner, basically.
Right.
And they're like, oh, that's not me, and they don't.
And it could never be me.
Yeah, and they always think that I shouldn't say always, but the majority of the ones I've interacted with, they seem to think because of that separation, they look at that person who, these videos that you see on Facebook or something,
Right.
where somebody's in a van, not like passed out with a needle or something.
Right.
They look at that person as like, morally corrupt, and they apparently just started with a needle. They don't realize that most of them started out saying, I would never inject anything.
Correct.
And then slowly they kept, first it was, I would never smoke anything. And then I would never snort anything. And then I would never do this. And it ends up with, okay, well, I'm going to put a needle in my arm now.
Correct.
And so, and they don't realize that a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them started with the legal heroin you have in your medicine cabinet. Which is why a lot of them still to this day, ones that we've talked to in groups and whatnot, if they have heroin available, they'll use it. If they don't, they'll use oxys.
Right.
And they'll get kind of the same high almost.
Yeah, because it's amazing that the legal heroin has gotten so much more expensive.
Yeah.
First of all, you got to have an MRI or pain or something like that. You got to find a doctor that's willing to do it, because that whole industry has gotten squeezed.
And then,
because there were so many criminals that were doing it wrong.
Anymore.
Right. And so I mean, we wanted to talk about this because there are a lot of people that don't understand how people got to this point, and they feel like, well, just like you said, Trinity, if I didn't abuse alcohol and I didn't start smoking pot, I never did pot in my life, and I would never do cocaine, well, then it's impossible for me to become a heroin addict. And we're saying, wait a minute, there's another way. Because the real gateway drug, if you want to use a gateway drug other than caffeine and sugar, which those are the gateway drugs for real kids.
Yes, sir.
It's another show. But if you wanted to use a different gateway drug, as if, in other words, a gateway meaning something that you purchase on the street or has street value because of its high, then that would be the pills.
Yeah.
Our new gateway drug really is the pills,
well,
or really are the pills. Is it R? Trinity, you sat in the front of the class. Is it R or is?
Say that again.
Never mind.
People are calling it the gateway, though. They're saying pills are the gateway to heroin. Like I'm seeing it all over the place.
Well, except with some people that we've talked to recently that still want to say that marijuana is the gateway drug, and I'm not trying to say marijuana is not whatever they want to say. That's
causation
not our agenda.
Yeah,
exactly. First of all, let me qualify something real quick, children.
Here we go. Message.
We at the Couch Live, and especially us individually, we don't look at individual drugs as being any kind of an issue or problem other than what they are. We talk about the disease of addiction. We focus on the disease of addiction, and our issues are with the disease of addiction.
Yes.
So that disease could be happening with other substances, and I'm not going to go attack the caffeine industry, the sugar industry, the marijuana industry, the alcohol industry, the opiate industry, anything, other than giving you the facts that these all have some relationship together. Ooh,
wow.
I popped my pee.
Look at you, man.
There's a relationship with all of these, but mainly if you have the genetic predisposition to addiction, and if you have some environmental factors that may help addiction get fed, if you have a little Pandora's box in your brain with some trauma or some other issues that make addiction or make use and then abuse and habit use pleasurable, or it helps you escape from whatever you're escaping, then addiction is possible. So we don't attack any individual drugs. That was.
I will say that I want to make sure I point this out because Frank Severino was watching.
Yeah.
I think he still is, actually. And he made a comment. He says, and it's important to mention that many people use legal heroin illegally. Which I think is a huge thing to mention.
Perfect. So let's talk about that, because it's like 70. It's high. It's like almost like 74% or 84%. I forget what it is. It's in the high, above 70%. Put it that way. I know that.
Okay. That is high.
More than 70% of heroin addicts have misused prescription pills before even using heroin. How about that?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a high number. And so they're not even using the pain pills
as prescribed.
Yeah. First of all, have you ever been around an active addict that has a headache? You ever see how many Tylenol pills an active addict wants to use?
The bottle says 2. You don't need to take 4. You know.
Right. Right. Come on, man. When you're in active
2
addiction,
doesn't work for me.
No. When you're in active addiction, you think 2 doesn't work for you. You don't understand. I'm different. My headaches are a little bit more severe than others. And you know, my sleep, it's always been like this since I was 2 years old. You can ask my mom. That's why I need sleep medication. There's always something.
See, what happened was.
What happened was.
I have to admit, though, that I do sometimes take a little bit more than the smaller dosage because of my size. Because sometimes it just doesn't work on me. I will say that.
Well, and therefore, carfentanil is different than fentanyl. Because carfentanil is for elephants. And
exactly.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, exactly it. Just go get a little bit of car fentanyl whenever I got a boo-boo.
There you go. You are kind of a big man there, man. So little men like myself,
Yeah.
I'm 5'10". So anybody in that 5'10" range, we're average size. My man Trinity over here at the 6'4" range. Is that where you're at?
6'3".
6'3"? He looks 6'4".
Well, thank you.
Well, you know.
It's like June 1st. Everybody always thinks I'm shorter.
Well, yeah.
Anyways.
You look bigger on TV. Anyway, so that's what we're talking about. And Frank is exactly right. The misusing of legal stuff. And you don't mean to, but you know what happens, Trinity, is tolerance.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, you know, like I've been eating tacos my entire life. My entire life, being a Mexican, tacos are that's a staple, right?
Well,
but I still don't eat
corn tortillas. We know.
Yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that little thing.
Otherwise,
yes,
it's a
on
burrito.
corn tortillas, or else it's a burrito. Yes, but I still can't surpass 6 tacos
Okay.
unless it was 420 back in the day, and then maybe I can have 8.
Sure.
That's 29 years ago.
Sure.
But I still can't surpass 6 tacos. In
So
other words,
your tolerance
my
for
tolerance
tacos does
didn't
not go
increase.
up. Good.
It did not go up.
Right on.
Yet for substances, especially like opiates, because you have natural opiate receptor sites ready and willing. And then so what happens is 2 pills turn into 4, 4 turn into 8, 8 turn into 16, and it just gets very difficult to use them as prescribed when they're not working anymore. You need more. And this is the same phenomenon that people have used back in the day when they wanted to say marijuana was the gateway drug. They said, what happened is it doesn't work anymore. You're going to go on to another drug. You're going to need something more. What they were really talking about was tolerance. That sometimes whatever you're using, regardless of what it is, just doesn't work anymore. It's not really sustainable.
Well, actually, I got a question now.
Okay, go for it.
Because I have not looked up the validity of it.
Okay.
But I would like to get your perspective on it, actually.
Okay, I'd love to give it.
Being the fact that we've had this overall conversation numerous times,
Right.
I have heard numerous people talk about it, but once again, I have not looked up the validity, the science behind it. But what do you think about, what's your opinion on the people who say that when you abuse or misuse the pills, or by taking them, it actually makes you less tolerant to pain now?
That's very true.
How so?
Okay, so when you take pain medication for an extended period of time, your brain gets very accustomed to that. Okay, so now, and that's going to kind of bleed into our poll, actually.
What a great segue.
It is going to bleed into our poll, because our poll was what, Trinity?
Is there a difference between addiction and dependence?
Correct. And so, and we'll give you the answers of what came out with that anyway. So anyway, what happens is that when you start taking opiates for an extended period of time, or pills for an extended period of time, it starts creating an effect. Your body gets very adjusted to it, and it starts pancaking the receptor site. Remember, it doesn't fit perfectly. These are synthetic, or this is something what we call exogenous opioids, meaning an opioid that we bring from outside of our body into our body. So you have endogenous opioids, which are the ones you're naturally born with, and you have exogenous opioids, which are the ones you take from outside of your body.
Okay.
But they're not a perfect fit.
Okay.
So they do a little damage, right? And it changes the formation of that receptor site a little bit. And so that since they start bouncing on it. Just imagine like a bounce or like a hammer.
Okay.
And so as it pancakes out a little bit and creates damage to it, you require more to sit longer, because you really need that attachment for an extended period of time.
Okay.
To give you that what you're looking for.
Okay.
But when it's not attaching and instead it's kind of bouncing, you require more of it to bounce faster. So it's always kind of touching, because that's what you're wanting. You're wanting something to really touch. And that's why the synthetic assistance that we have, like the methadones, which is still an agonist, even though it's used for treatment, and the partial agonists, like the buprenorphines, like the Suboxone, Subutex, Zubzol, those are all partial agonists, meaning they still make the opiate receptor flood with dopamine. They still create a reaction of dopamine reward, right? So that's why they're still agonists, and that's why they're still considered opioids, because they stick. And by them sticking on the receptor site, then they don't have to bounce.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Which allows the receptor to kind of heal while you're on those. And that's why they can be used for treatment, because it's still allowing some healing to happen.
Okay.
Even though there's something on it unattached. And that's why things like Vivitrol, which is a non-opiate, and it's an antagonist, sits on the receptor site and allows it to fully heal or come back to the healing. Because we're like lizards. We have lizard brains, and we're like lizards where, like, we can't regrow a tail. I still would like to regrow a tail, or to have a tail, but instead, what our brain is very malleable, and it tends to like grow back some things. So anyway, so does that answer what you were asking?
Sort of.
What did I miss? And let me go back to it then.
Well, I thought it was being the fact that I didn't go to school specifically for that.
Right.
I found it very interesting when people were saying essentially your tolerance to pain is lessened by taking pain pills.
Right.
Because I was just wondering if it was a perceived tolerance or if it was a legitimate tolerance. Is what I was curious about. In other words, is it one of those things where you think that it hurts more and you're not used to that feeling, so you feel you need to take more, or is it a legitimate scientific, like your body's actually experiencing more pain right now because of that?
Well,
I just thought it was interesting
because you're talking about the brain, and because look, this is not a perfect science.
Sure.
So I think what you're going to find is there are some psychological effects as well as physiological effects.
Right.
So is there legitimate pain? Not to the degree that you think you need the pain medication, because if it's pancaked out, remember, it's just the pain just feels more painful.
Right.
But it's not really more painful. But to you, look, it's like trauma, right? If I think this is very traumatic, if I think you calling me short is crippling to me,
right?
Well, then it's crippling to me. You can't
Who am I to say it doesn't?
Yeah, who are you to say that you didn't traumatize me? I say, oh, you traumatized me because you called me short, and I called you a giant, so now you're walking around crying because I called you a giant.
Because I think that's what partially makes this such a hard problem to work around. Is
because some of it's psychological.
Well, you can't measure pain. Like
you cannot measure pain.
How do you? I'm in pain. No, you're not. Well, what do you mean I'm not?
No.
Because I find that funny, just on a smaller level, even. Maybe you're play fighting with your kids or your wife or whomever, and somebody pops somebody on accident. Ow! I'm like, oh, that didn't hurt. I bet.
Right.
We all instantly go to that. No, it didn't.
Right.
Well, yeah, maybe it did. Who knows? Because I've had moments where something will happen, and being the fact that I'm a large dude, I can usually take a lot. It doesn't hurt me. Mm-hmm. But every now and then something will hit me just right, and it's like, oh my God, that really hurt. And then somebody's like, no, it didn't. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it did. And so I think that's what makes it difficult.
It's very subjective.
Yeah, man.
And that's what makes it very difficult for a lot of us in the world, that when we get on this pain medication, am I feeling real pain or am I not feeling real pain? Is my brain tricking me? And you know what? Sometimes your brain is tricking you. Sometimes you're not in as much pain as you think, and that's why doing a lot of the relaxation or stuff, other exercises that you can do, or building up those other side muscles. I like that you brought that up, because that's actually really relevant towards correct body mechanics. Sometimes you've learned how to move wrong or do things wrong, so I don't think you have those other muscles that you're talking about. So therefore, when they're required, you are prone to injury or inability, and I think that causes you some more pain there as well. So I think it's important for you to do as much research as possible. It's important for you to understand that there is a such thing as legal heroin. Hell, there's such things as legal cocaine. We can do a whole show on that another day, of all the amphetamines and all the things that you think, I'm on Adderall. Or
it's funny you should say that.
Why?
Because somebody literally just made that comment.
Somebody just said that?
Yeah, they said not to be mistaken with legal meth, a.k.a. Adderall, Adipex, or Ritalin. Shaking my head. I've known all walks of life, from teachers to law enforcement, who all, while in denial, abused them.
Right.
Developed a need and suffered all sorts of withdrawal symptoms, mainly mood swings and agitation, on top of having no energy once the drug wasn't available.
Exactly.
Now back to pain pills.
Hey, listen, that is funny. That's actually funny. That is exactly correct. Whoever said that, you're exactly 100% correct. We have legal things that mimic the illegal things. And the reason we have those is because a lot of times they came from that. We got the idea from that. In other words, is there legal alcohol? Yes. Do we use alcohol in some forms of therapies or treatments? Yes. We use cocaine in some form of treatments. We use opiates in some form of treatments. And we already used, even prior to 2015-14, marijuana or THC or cannabinoids in certain treatments.
Well, they used to prescribe
heroin. And
heroin.
We'll continue to do that.
They used to prescribe legitimate heroin.
Yeah, so it's to not understand that it's different when it's controlled, and we know the substances, we know the amounts, we know what's in it, we know what derivatives may be with it, we know how it was stored. Right. We try to make sure that maybe not some other things are in there.
Yes.
They are safer because of that.
Right.
But they're not safer to dependence. They're not safer to guard you from addiction, but they are safer, meaning the impurity stuff,
and
the other garbage.
I think that's important, because I don't think either one of us are advocating complete and utter abstinence from these medications
Absolutely
if you're
not.
legitimately in need, right?
No.
Like, I would hate to tell somebody who's suffering with pain to go without because you never know what could happen.
Right.
I don't think either one of us are saying that.
Right.
I mean, if you're legitimate pain and you're in a pain management doctor, by all means, do what they're telling you to do. Just be aware.
Yeah, don't try to do surgery so I'll do it without.
Yeah, right. Just be aware.
Oh, knock me out, brother.
Yeah. Well, not only, number one, be aware, and number two, and I think David Siegel would love to hear this.
Right.
Watch your medicine cabinet.
Right.
Be aware for yourself, knowing that this could potentially be a problem for you in the future. So pay
Right.
attention. And then number two, realize that if you've got anybody, kids around, or I hate to say it, but workers around your house, things of
Right.
that nature, you don't know what these people are doing. Keep that stuff locked away.
Well, ask yourself this. Would you just leave a couple $100 bills in your medicine cabinet?
Because that's what you're doing.
Because that's what you're doing. I mean, go to your grandparents' house and just look. Some grandparents have like a big box of meds, like in a very open area where workers come in and out all the time. That's like throwing a bunch of $100 bills in a box and expecting, well, I've known Charlie a long time. Charlie would never steal my mom's money.
I got bad news for you. You don't know Charlie as well as you think you do.
If Charlie's in withdrawals
And Charlie will take it.
and Charlie's out of money, Charlie's taking those $100 bills.
Yes.
So you have to be aware. So anyway, that's what we're talking about today. Now let's transition into our poll, Trinity. You said our poll was...
Yeah, so the poll was, is there a difference between addiction and dependence?
Right.
And I have to say that we put it up on all of our social media, yours, mine, the station, the show, everything, on both platforms, Instagram and Facebook. I haven't looked at the actual numbers from all of them,
Right.
but the one I've looked at on Facebook, they're all yes, would be the answer.
Okay.
But the numbers that I can remember off of Facebook anyways was in a 60% range for yes and a 30-something% range for no.
Okay.
And then Mr. Tommy Lloyd put like a remarkable response that I can't repeat.
No, you can repeat some
No,
of it.
I
and
mean,
we'll get
I'd have
back
to read
it.
it, 'cause I
Okay, all
can't
right, all
repeat
right.
it, 'cause-
But, it was curious because on my Instagram, obviously on my Instagram, I have a lot more people must be in recovery than my Facebook. Because on my Instagram, it was 90%.
Wow.
That there's a difference.
Wow.
So let's talk a little bit about this because that is a question you hear a lot. All right.
Yeah.
So first of all, before talking about the percentages between our poll, let's first get an understanding of what we're talking about. What is addiction? What is dependence? Now, I really like the definition Tommy Lloyd used. So let's and Tommy Lloyd is a therapist for Reform Recovery. I believe he's not far from here in New Smyrna Beach. So go ahead and read what.
let me find it
Oh,
real
did you
quick,
guys?
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, before even going to that, then, when we give you the definitions of abuse and of addiction and dependence, I want you to understand one main thing. For a very long time, we've been saying, or at least the recovering community puts out there, that addiction is forever. You're never recovered, right?
Oh, so that guy on TV that says, I used to be an addict. He's not telling the truth?
Well, that he found the cure?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy that says he found the cure? Yeah. If he found the cure, he wouldn't be rich because he has a treatment center. He'd be rich because we'd all pay him $1 billion. All
right, I found
all right,
his post.
But before going to that, all right, so there could be a debate whether, and that's a future show, actually.
Okay.
Is there, can you get recovered? Can you be recovered? Because there is a movement that says, yes, I'm absolutely recovered because of blah, blah, blah. All right, I'm not even getting into that right now. That's another show. What I'm saying, yeah, exactly. What I am saying, however, is that addiction is the one they're talking about being permanent, and dependence, like physical dependence, is not personal. I mean, not permanent. There's no debate on that. There's no debate that you're still physically dependent. And if you are debating that you're still physically dependent, that would mean you're still suffering withdrawals 20 years later. No, you're not. If you're still suffering withdrawals 20 years later,
You haven't stopped using.
no, that's called Parkinson's disease. That's called that you have another problem. Please go see the doctor. That's what that means. All right. So anyway, what did Tommy Lloyd say?
All right, once again, I had to read this one because I could not remember it right off the bat.
Right. Now, well, just remember.
I don't have the letters after my name that he does. So, my opinion is that they are different. Addiction has to do with the mental obsession / insanity of using a substance and the abuse despite negative consequences. Dependence is a product of our brain compensating for excess psychoactive drugs, through down-up regulation of neurotransmitter receptors to achieve homeostasis. Dependence is a part of addiction, but easy to treat addiction treatment is a battle we are fighting daily. This is a mouthful, man. Jeez.
All right, kids, here we go again. All right.
Put that in layman's terms for everybody?
Yeah, let me break this down a little bit, because that's a little bit. All right, addiction is a chronic brain disease. All right? Addiction is a chronic brain disease of a lot of different functions, of memory, of your impulses, of your motivation, but mainly the brain reward center. Okay, and that's what it is, a chronic brain disease that it does, and it manifests in our behaviors, in our actions, in our personalities. It looks like a personality, which is why people say, I don't have an addictive personality. It's not that it's a personality, because this is an Access 1 diagnosis, meaning it's primary, by the way. Meaning, no, it's not a personality disorder. It is not. You don't have addictive personality. We allow ourselves to talk like that because it appears to be a personality, but it's not. It's an actual primary chronic disease of the brain reward function.
Glad you said that, because I hear a lot of people saying, I got addictive personality.
And I let them say it now. I used to fight it back in the day, but, right. Just like the word alcoholic used to be a medical term, and then just everybody uses it now, or addiction was a medical term, and it just turned into everybody using it. So it just is what it is. I'm not going to argue that stuff. Now, dependence, on the other hand, dependence is where the organism, functions normally when the drug is present, and then screams for it when it's not. It's pretty much that simple. It functions very normally when it's present, but in the absence of it, it then goes into withdrawal, what we would call withdrawal. So that's different than addiction, because that's not taking into account all the attitudes, the behaviors, the reward, the pleasure and reward, the motivation, how it changes your, even spiritually. Addiction is, even now in the definition of addiction, we have added the spiritual changes.
Interesting.
Because we have found that there's a linkage between everything about an individual starts to change and adapt to that addiction, to feed that addiction. So, dependence can be had by anyone. Anyone can become physically dependent on something. I'm dependent on oxygen. I just am. So dependence, just think about it, what we're saying then. So that means that a person, let's take a grandmother. A grandmother goes into surgery, stays on pain medication for a month after because she's in so much pain. It was a horrible surgery. And she's still crying for pain. And what doctor's not going to give an old lady more pills?
Right.
There's no sadistic doctor out there that's not going to give your grandmother more pain pills when they're saying, I'm still in pain, Charlie. They're going to give it to him.
Well, I mean, Charlie must have pissed you off today.
Charlie's just in my head, apparently. So anyway, Charlie's just everybody. He's going to be the addict. He's going to be the doctor. Charlie's everybody today.
There's a lot of Charlies.
Yeah. All right. So Charlie's going to write the script for your grandmother, and then she has it. Now, here's the problem. She may be now physically dependent on that opiate, which means she can't just come off it without feeling some sort of physical withdrawal.
Right.
She's going to feel like she's got the flu. She's going to feel sick. Her stomach's going to be upset. She might get really nauseous. Her blood pressure may fluctuate. She's going to feel a certain type of way, and you need to be aware of that.
Now, does that person need to go to detox?
No. That person needs to be weaned off of their pain medication. But because if a person was taking it as prescribed, the weaning is not such a hard weaning.
Right.
It's harder when a person starts doubling up and tripling up.
Misusing it.
Yeah, if you're living life on level 10, which like when I did cocaine, I lived life on level 10. But it's like you're always on a major ski lift, like going down a Black Diamond mountain. And then all of a sudden, you're trying to tell me that life is supposed to be pleasurable just by sitting next to a lake and fishing?
Right.
The
one that I think spoke the most to me was because I did a little bit of research on this as well.
Okay, good.
And the one I liked the most is the one I found on NIDA website.
Oh, NIDA's beautiful. I like what NIDA always.
Yeah, I like their website. When this is what they said. It says, and they're discussing mostly opiates in this case, but it gets the point across.
Okay.
It says, as you've just explained, different parts of the brain are responsible for the addiction and dependence to heroin and opiates. Mm-hmm. Review the areas in the brain underlying the addiction to morphine, and it says here reward pathway.
Right.
And those underlying dependence to morphine, which would be the thalamus and the brainstem. Mm-hmm. It says, thus, it is possible to be dependent on morphine without being addicted to morphine.
Correct.
Although, if one is addicted, they are most likely dependent as well. And then it says, this is especially true for people being treated chronically with morphine. For example, pain associated with terminal cancer. They may be dependent. If the drug is stopped, they suffer a withdrawal syndrome. But they are not compulsive users of the morphine, and they are not addicted. Finally, people treated with morphine in the hospital for pain control after surgery are unlikely to become addicted, although they may feel some of the euphoria, the analgesic and sedating effects predominant. There is no compulsive use, and the prescribed use is short-lived.
Yeah.
So the thing I took from that is the compulsive use.
Right.
Is what I took from that. Is the difference mainly is withdrawal. You're taking it, but there's no compulsive use to. There's no need to compulsively use it. In other words, you might forget to take a dose, or you might not worried about it as much. To whereas the addiction part is whether you need it or not, you're taking it.
Well, right. And I'm gonna tap into some things with some people here, because addiction kind of what it does. When you start using anything, any mood-altering substance that's pleasurable and starts that reward pathways that you were talking about. Right. What happens is that we all have, pretty much all of us have some sort of Pandora's box. Some of us have a Pandora's box a little bit more full than others. Right. If you suffered some sort of trauma, if you had some insecurities, and it's hard to imagine anyone without insecurities, but but I'm saying, let's say you have some deeper-rooted insecurities or deeper-rooted pains in your past or deeper-rooted, loss, or something severe. What drugs tend to do is all of a sudden you find yourself not obsessing over that loss or pain, or not feeling that loss or pain, or feeling some sort of resolve maybe to that loss or pain. So at first it appears very pleasurable, and hey man, I actually function better when I take it.
I've heard that a ton.
Because now I have more energy, or now I am more alert, or now I am less complicated. Now here's the thing. What your interpretation is probably dead on initially. The problem is how sustainable that is. Right. Because if it's not sustainable, then what? Well, you have to use more, you have to double up, or you have to find something a little bit more powerful. However, when you start putting in exogenous things into your body, when you start using outside substances, your brain starts reducing or making less of your natural stuff. So, like, if you're doing a lot of anti-anxiety stuff, the benzodiazepines or pot or something like that, then your GABA starts being reduced, is what we notice. So then now, yes, when in absence of those drugs, you're going to be more anxious. So that's why you see a cigarette smoker, you take away the cigarette. Now, first they're going through withdrawals of the nicotine, but they never learn how to really deal with anxiety. They never learn how to deal with that delay.
Right.
And so the GABA needs to come up. Well, natural GABA would work better, but natural is a lot slower than synthetic, because we built synthetics to go somewhere. They had to pass the FDA test.
Efficient is what you're saying?
Well, they had to pass FDA tests, and they had to be able to make money. So they had to make something happen within a short period of time in a study to say it works, right?
Okay.
Whereas nature didn't have to do that. And I'm going to use the word God now, not as a religious thing, but just as a nature thing. Sure. God didn't have to get anything passed and said, hey, that plant right there will give you natural vitamins. Well, it didn't have to pass any FDA test within 24 weeks to show that it actually did that.
Sure.
Even though, little by little, if you eat enough, long enough, it may do that.
Right.
All right. So now getting back into some of these behaviors that you were talking about, Trinity, these addict behaviors and stuff. If it goes into your Pandora's box and does that, and then it stops working, well, you're going to start showing behaviors of, well, I really do need that. I like that escape, or I like that good feeling, or you know what? I'm a happy drunk, or I'm a fun drunk, or I'm able to enjoy myself or function longer in my work. I sell more cars when I'm on cocaine.
I'm sure you do.
Whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's hard then to go back and scale back to a level 5 of life.
Yeah, of course.
Where that's why I always joke about being at a level 5.
Right.
Because if you could scale back and learn how to be at level 5 and naturally build up your ability to maybe function the way you really want to at a level 5, that's sustainable.
I think it's interesting that you touched on it, and of course I'm going to come from the spiritual perspective here.
Of course.
I think it's very interesting what you said, though, because I think, I can speak for myself anyways.
Okay.
When I hear dependence, my first thought is physical dependence.
Yes.
Withdrawal symptoms and things of that nature.
Right.
But I think you just touched on the psychological dependence of I need this to do this,
Right.
which I think is very interesting.
Right.
Because I see people post all the time about how they need like their coffee, for instance, in the morning.
Correct.
You know, don't talk to me until I get my coffee. Like, wow, so you're dependent upon that to be a good person is what
Right.
you're saying. Or the coping mechanisms of a glass of wine at the end of the night. You know, things of that nature.
Right.
I think those are some signs that people should worry about, should
Correct.
look into essentially. In other words, if you can't deal with life as is without taking some sort of a substance, you might want to investigate that a little bit.
Right.
Because I think that's where the spirituality comes into play. Is you got to have some sort of a base to help deal and cope with life. Because eventually, that wine's just not going to cut it anymore. You know, something's going to happen bigger than that wine's going to be able to handle, and you're going to look for something else.
Right. Yeah, and it's like, what are you gonna do if it doesn't work? Now, wouldn't we all be? I mean, first of all, it's a lot cheaper if you can learn how to get natural energy. Now, I don't know how to. I mean, I have natural energy. I am hyper by nature, but
Sure.
I work myself ragged and I don't sleep right. So because of my behaviors, right? because of things that I'm unwilling to change, I then go to a fake one, which is caffeine.
Sure.
To kind of
You
make
and, like,
do.
millions of Americans.
Yeah, to make do for what I'm not willing to do on my own.
Sure.
The key is you better know what you're doing.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not holier than thou. I know what I'm doing. I'm just not doing yoga and tofu.
Well,
I'm not ready for yoga and tofu. Speaking of yoga, we got a lot of our friends doing goat yoga today.
oh, that's right. That's today, isn't it?
Aaron Moore,
The Journey
Graham
Period.
Barrett, Journey Pierce putting on this big old goat yoga thing that we were invited to. Can you imagine seeing Trinity doing a goat yoga, by the way?
No. But I mean, to be honest with you, and you and I have talked about this, and Graham, if you're listening, well,
No,
you're
he's not
'cause
listening.
you're
He's
doing goat
playing
yoga.
with goats.
I swear, when he sent me that text message, I thought it was a
You
joke.
thought it was a joke.
I thought it was a joke. I was like, is this really a thing? Are you playing with me?
Right.
And then he proceeds to send me a picture with somebody
Somebody
doing yoga
doing
with a
yoga
goat
with a
on their
goat
back.
on their back.
And I was like, I stand corrected. Apparently that's a thing. That's not a thing I'm interested in trying anytime soon, but
Goat yoga
goat yoga
is a thing.
it's
Kids.
a thing.
Goat yoga is a thing.
Yeah. Try that instead of the bottle of wine next time. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, see, the thing is I'm not ready for goat yoga.
Me
And
either.
that's okay. And, you know, I'm not judging you where you're at in your life. Don't judge me where I'm at in my life. If you can say, I'm just talking about the disease of addiction and how to help keep away from that. But trust me, if I needed to do goat yoga, if I felt like if I do goat yoga, I'm going to sleep better at night.
I just can't get over the
I might
phrase
pick
goat
up-
yoga. It's
putting-
crazy to me.
Trinity, I'm not saying that I'll never do goat yoga.
Well, never's a long time. I agree.
You know what?
Uh-oh. You're gonna go do it next time?
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, but you're going to go with me.
Yeah, I'll film you. No problem.
No, you're going with me. You're going to do
Yeah,
goat
I'll go
yoga.
with
And
you
so
and
is
film you.
Robbie. Robbie, our intern, who's not here today. You're going to do goat yoga, too.
I would not be shocked if Robbie tells us
That's
he's
probably what
already
Robbie
done
is
it.
today.
I wouldn't be shocked if he said he's already done goat yoga. He strikes me as somebody who's done goat yoga and probably loves it.
You know, if you weren't a white guy, I would think that you were being racially biased right there with that comment.
It's just he's got that
What
vibe
makes
about him.
what makes Robbie a goat yoga guy?
Because he just seems into that wavelength. He seems into it because he's always
He's on that vibration.
Yeah,
huh?
he's always trying some certain things. He's talking about veganism and things of that nature. Like he's just, I wouldn't be shocked if he says I've done goat yoga, and I can say veganism because I was a vegan for a year and a half. I'm just saying it would not shock me. Matter of fact, I'm going to remember to ask him.
I thought you were saying it because it does appear to be a white thing. I'm sorry, man. As
It is
a
a white
Mexican,
thing.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to say it's a white thing.
I'm going to use the brown card right here where we're able to say stuff like that and get away with it for some reason.
Well, nah, never mind.
But
I'll keep that one to myself.
I guarantee you, there's not a lot of goat yoga in El Paso, Texas,
Don't eat
where I'm from.
Don't eat the goat. Don't eat it.
All right. So anyway, the poll said that most of you did see the difference between addiction and dependence, which is
Yes.
good. If you still have issue with that, I'm not trying to argue with you. I'm just trying to let you know that there is a difference by way of attitude, personality, and what's really happening in the brain. Because dependence is very simple. And if we keep it real simple, here's the other good part that they're different,
Okay.
Trinity, is that, number one, you don't have to go to detox like you were saying. Do they need to go to detox?
Right.
No. But number two, not that they don't require medical attention, by the way. I don't want to. And we just stop. Like, don't just stop doing benzos. Don't just stop doing opiates. Don't just stop doing alcohol. Don't just stop doing things that could be dangerous to you.
The views and opinions expressed. CYA,
Talk to your, yes. I better cover it because somebody's going to say, well, the dope doctors had.
Yes.
No, I didn't. But what I'm saying is that with dependence, what we know is that it just allows us to understand that things like opiates should be very temporary, if at all possible. And if you're one of these human beings out there, unfortunately, that suffer severe pain, and it's a lifelong thing for you, you're going to be in pain for life, I feel you. But don't feel like we're calling you an addict, because you're not. If you're not exhibiting some of those behaviors and attitudes and those motivational changes and those things, those other things aren't happening, then good. But you are dependent on it. And that's look, it's better than the pain that you're really feeling, okay? And the only thing that I think that you can do different, and I'm sure you're already doing it, because I'm sure you don't want to be on those pain pills all your life, but just have kind of just come to understand that you just may be, is that just stick with watching all the research that keeps coming out, because there's constant research on pain, because it is such an issue, and people don't want you to be in pain, and people really don't want you to be on an opiate. Other people don't want you to be on an opiate, and there are alternatives to some lighter pain, but maybe not to some severe pain. And that's Trinity. I really feel bad for people, especially some veterans out there that have suffered like the loss of limbs or some severe broken backs and necks and parts that even the surgeries aren't taking away some of the pain. And nerve pain, forget it, because nerve pain, I don't even think there's
dude, pain changes you, man.
But I don't even think there's an answer for nerve pain. I think
there are nerve blockers and stuff like that.
No, there you go. That
but
kind of stuff.
I just think that being somebody who I've had pain, of course, we've all had it.
Right.
And being the fact that I've been to weights and things of that nature, I've had bulging discs and herniations and whatnot, among other painful things in my life. And dude, it changes you. It really does. Like,
it makes you real moody.
Yeah, man. And how could you not be? Right. When you're in constant. I don't mean just I got a bruise on my shoulder and it hurts every time I bump it. Right. I'm talking about significant pain, nonstop. Like, have you ever had a toothache?
Of course.
That's the worst kind of pain, because it doesn't go away. Now imagine having that every day for like a year, 2 years, 3 years. You're gonna be horrible to be around, because how could you not? And so I think in that instance, thankfully we do have medicines that can help people.
Well, here now I'm gonna get spiritual, because I am.
Me too.
I think the hashtag
exactly.
For the people that do have that long-term pain, and how Trinity just says you are going to be a horrible person. No, you're not.
Well, you were not a horrible person. You're not fun to be around.
I know what you're. There is for those people, you're going to have to work on the psychological aspect of your strength a lot more than the normal Joe. Yeah. See, I said Joe instead of Charlie this time.
Oh, Charlie's upset now.
Yeah, Charlie's done. But you're going to have to work on it just a little bit harder. And you got to get to a level of acceptance of this pain a lot more than someone normally. And you'll see your pain tolerance is probably already really high. Your pain threshold is already very different than most people. But your normal is going to rise up. It will rise up. And luckily for you, your brain and body will grow with you and rise up to that ability to handle what us normal Joes can't handle. That we can't handle the level of pain you're in today if we start from today. It takes a lot of years of pain to be able to handle the kind of pain that you're dealing with. And I feel for you. And I hope that one day we have an answer to that. But I think we're getting closer to it. The more we investigate and study addiction, the more we have this problem with opioids, is leading us to understand pain more, is leading us to understand sleep more, is leading us to understand the reward and pleasure center a lot more. So therefore, I'm very hopeful that through all of this, that our brothers and sisters and friends and loved ones aren't dying for nothing, but by them dying and causing so much an uproar that we're having this crisis and pandemic, that we'll do the research necessary to eventually resolve that pain that some of you are feeling that aren't addicts, but will benefit from the research because of the research for the addict. Because it's so similar and so closely related, and like you said earlier, that I want to make sure that we highlight, dependence, he said mostly, or it said mostly, I would say always comes with dependence. Addiction, they try to say that marijuana, you can't get addicted. Remember, people say you can't get addicted to marijuana because it doesn't cause withdrawals and stuff?
Yeah.
Have you ever seen somebody that smokes every day and then stops using?
Yes.
You can't tell me that there's no withdrawal. It's just it's just manageable withdrawals.
Yeah.
So the hunger changes, the sleep pattern changes, the moodiness.
Yes.
Me without pot, I was very moody until I smoked again.
Yes.
So you can't tell me that didn't exist. It just wasn't something that you can really compare to alcohol or heroin.
Right.
But it was there nonetheless. So I think, and this is just my opinion, all addiction comes with dependence, but not all dependence comes with addiction.
Yeah, and I think that was what
and
Nida
that's
was trying to
really the takeaway.
I think that's what Nida was trying to put out there is when I read it. That was the vibe I got from it as well. Was, one comes with it, one doesn't necessarily come with it.
So thank our sponsors, Trinity, and start closing us up.
Yes, I'd like to thank, we were just talking about Graham from Journey Pure. So Journey Pure is one of the sponsors, and they're doing their little goat yoga today, which I'm sure we'll hear more about later.
Right.
Also want to thank Retreat Premier Addiction Treatment Centers. They are another fan. I wonder if they do goat yoga. We're going to have to reach out and see if they do.
Whatever. Treat?
And then,
I haven't heard about it.
I haven't heard about it either, but I'm sure they'll.
But you never know.
Exactly. I didn't know that Journey Pure did it. So
True.
And then, of course, we have Orange County with Carol Burkett. She's an amazing person. I'm sure she's listening right now.
Yeah.
And
Saw her
then,
last night at UCF.
Of course, the Now Matters More Foundation, which you can contact us at nowmattersmore.org.
That's right. We got anything coming up?
We have our board meeting next week.
That's right. That's it.
So I'm sure we'll have some news coming from that.
Right.
Got some new people joining us, so I'm excited.
Right.
I think that's all we got.
Okay, my mom's finally back in the United States of America. Thanks for coming home, Mom.
Welcome
So
back.
now I can say happy birthday to her. April 1st was her
Welcome
birthday.
back.
But man, she was gone to Mexico for a long time. She's finally back.
Yeah,
Safe.
she just got back. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Danielle, my niece, had a birthday last week, and my mother-in-law retired. Trinity.
Wow. Very
Stella retired. Congratulations, Stella, for retirement. She has no idea what she's going to do now.
cool. Right on.
I guess now
It's
you
a good problem to have, though.
You just sit around and just go like,
Sure.
now what? I think you walk the mall. I think that's what you're supposed to do.
Those
is
morning mall walkers,
yeah,
man.
yeah, I think that's what you're supposed to do.
That's
Anyway,
awesome.
anyway, from all of us here on the Couch Live, adios, amigos. It's time for a taco. Goodbye.
And that was without even a single drop of rum.